Amazing. All right. Well, I have exactly 3 o'clock, so let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about websites for HOAs and condos. I'm going to dive into benefits, features, what your website needs to include, what design elements you should have, some security necessities, how to choose the right platform, 3 great examples of websites, and a little bit about Neigbrs by Vinteum. But before we dive into all of that fun stuff, let's do a little bit of Zoom housekeeping here. So your camera and microphone are off, but I can see that you're here. To send me a message, you can use the chat. That's also where you can interact with other participants. If you have an important question about what I'm saying, please post it in the Q&A. That way I can't miss it. And if you have a question that I didn't answer properly and you'd like me to answer it, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you at the end of the session when we have our open Q&A. So I have 2 screens. That's why I look away from you sometimes. There we go. All right, we skipped ahead there. Okay. So about me, who am I? Why am I talking about websites? My name's Layla. I was born in Belgium and I studied languages at the University of Southampton. I've been with Vinteum now since 2018, so 5 years. And in that time, I've helped over 150 community associations start to use technology. And I now run the customer success team who do that for so many more of our clients. As well as that, I manage the marketing team, so I think and write a lot about why using technology and software to improve communications is so important for HOAs. Outside of work, I'm married, I have 3 dogs, and I love to take them on hikes and runs. I also love doing yoga and curling up with a good book and a cup of tea. Say hi in the comments. I'd love to know where you're from and to get to know you a little bit better. So let's jump into websites here. And starting off with the benefits. So why bother have a website? Having a website helps you with communication, as information will easily be available in one single place. It also cuts costs, as you no longer have to maintain different communication channels. I mean, a lot of people who use different tools for different things, and it gets to be a lot and it ends up being expensive. A website cuts all of that for you. And it also reduces how much printing you have to do, as you're now more focused on one digital hub. It also increases your efficiency and saves you time, both for board members, but also for residents, because you just have one place to go. You don't have to go all over the place anymore. And then for potential owners, it really increases your credibility with them, as they can find out more about the community. They see you're real, they see what you have. It's a really great tool for them. And then finally, your website is there 24/7. So people can find what they need without having to reach out to the board or to the manager. But to get these benefits, you do need to have a few different features. So the first thing that you should have is announcements and key information. So what your key information is really depends on your community. It could be next meetings, it could be important forms such as maintenance requests, architectural requests, or amenity reservations. It could also be FAQs, but I really do recommend having FAQs for every website, because I think it's a really great way for residents to find information really quickly. You can build it out over time. When you get questions all the time, you think, right, no, I'm going to put this into my website. But whatever fits your community should be available to residents in announcements. Another useful section is homes for sale or units to rent. This helps attract new members to the community, and it's also useful for residents so they can share that information with their friends or acquaintances. And then I've included 2 features here that may be password protected. The first is key documents. some of which can be public, so your CC&Rs or general information, but others should be private, such as your meeting minutes. It's important for residents to see, but you don't want anyone on the internet finding it. Then finally, it's also useful for residents to have access to a directory where they can find out more about their neighbors and get in touch with people more easily. So a website is useful for your community and it has useful information. But you can have all of this stuff and no one checks it. Why don't they check it? That can be very frustrating. And the answer to that normally is experience. You need to have a good experience in your website. It needs to work from all devices. So phones, tablets, laptops. If it doesn't and you join on your phone and it doesn't really work, you're going to give up on it. You're just going to stop going to that website. As well as that, it has to be clear when things are. So if you ever been to a website where menu items aren't clear, and to find what you need, you click around on a whole bunch of subpages and nothing's where it should be. It's a whole mess. It's not good. Don't make your residents go through that. If you have a section called news, post news there. Don't post classifieds, for instance. Try to stick to the menu item to make it clearer. After that, try to make it more accessible. This is something that everyone is working on at the moment, and it's still being developed how we should do that. But some things are quite easy. So using high contrast colors, use black on white and not blue on blue, for instance. Put large font, so you don't need to use a really small font. You don't get charged extra for more writing. Use a large font. And in images, you can add alternative text. So when you upload an image, you often get a box now called alt text where you describe the image. And that's a really good thing to do because if someone has a screen reader, they can read the image through their screen reader. So they don't need to be able to see the image to understand what it is. But doing that makes a really big difference to someone who uses a screen reader who needs extra help to navigate the internet. And then lastly, people are going to stop checking your website if it's not updated regularly. You don't have to update it every day. You've got other things to do that are more important. Update it once a month. That's absolutely fine. Post about events, maintenance updates, opening hours for the pool, your newsletter, anything that's important, post it. That will really help people to check your website more. After that, we have design. I talked a little bit about this, but think about websites that you use a lot. If it had good information, but you could never find it, would you keep coming back to that website? What is it about the sites that you love that make you come back to them? And let me know in the comments what you think. But in my opinion, if a website is useful, but hard to find, you don't know where anything is, you're not going to come back. And that means that your website needs to be clear. So think of it like a map. You can be on a road trip without a map and you're going to get lost. And websites are exactly the same thing. You need to give people a map. And your map is your design. So what you can do with that is to have clear menu items, like I mentioned before. That really helps people. And also, testing it for mobile is key. 67.81% of web traffic in the US came from mobile as of May 2023. So that's over half, well over half, of all web traffic in the country that's on mobile. It doesn't have to be perfect, especially if you have an older community who don't use their phone so much for the internet, but it should be usable. That's important. So if you're designing a website and you have a website or a technology committee to help you, and you built a website and you think it has all of these things. It's mobile friendly, you think the design is clear, you think the navigation is intuitive. What you can do is then test it. So get people from the committee, get a group of residents together to test out your website. So you would give them a link, they would go in, and you can ask them, what do you think of the images? Is the text clear? Do you understand how this website works? And then give them a couple of tasks. So say, I put the newsletter in the website, find it. Or look for the management contact information. How long does it take people? Do they get frustrated? Do they find it really easy? Work with them, time them, see how the experience is. Because if several people have difficulties finding your board's contact information in your website, then the committee needs to make adjustments. Or if it's the board doing it, the board needs to make those adjustments because your site needs to be clear for whoever is checking it. That's a really great thing to do when you are setting up a website. Another really important thing to think about in your website is security. So if I think about Neigbrs by Vinteum, our database is encrypted and we make sure to protect the connection as well. So if you've ever noticed when you're on a website, tell me if you can see this, when by the URL, there's a little lock symbol. If I click on it, it says the connection is secure. And it's secure because they have a HTTPS certificate, it's called, to ensure that my data is encrypted when I'm on this website. So it's completely private, which makes it harder to hack. And you can add that to your website. It's not too difficult to add. You can even add it for free using a service such as Cloudflare. You can add that to your website. And if you go with Vinteum, we also do that for you. The only thing that you would need to be able to do that is to have your own domain. So it would have to be yourcommunity.com and not a subdomain, which would be yourcommunity.another website. So for instance, Wix or Vinteum.com. Does that make sense? The other thing that we have at Vinteum is that we're hosted on AWS. And AWS complies with all international codes that exist to protect personal data within the cloud. And yes, there are international codes on that. So when you build your website, whether it's on a large platform or a dedicated HOA software, or you hire someone to design and code it for you, all these platforms have a privacy policy. This should outline how resident information, how user information even, is collected, and you should read that. It's important to understand the privacy policy. I know that people don't read terms and conditions, but the privacy policy is a really great thing to read. What most HOAs do is to have a public website and a password protected area. And this does really help increase security because you can split your information between the public, so anything that anyone on the internet can find, and the more private. So just for HOA members or HOA residents who can log in and view that information. And some people even differentiate that by not allowing tenants to see everything. So thinking about security, who can access what, is really important. But for it to work and for it to be truly safe, your login should be secure. So unique usernames such as emails and passwords. So with Neigbrs by Vinteum, it's your email that's your login and you create a password. And we even separate your main website from a private portal to ensure that you don't post something on your website by mistake. We really try to take care of that. Okay, Janice has asked here about domains and how they make sure your site is safe. Okay, so if we think about, let me take an example, facebook.com, right? We'll go into my Facebook here for a second, but there's nothing there. So you have here the secure connection, and facebook.com is a secure website. Facebook make sure to invest that their site is secure. You could say the same for YouTube. For our site, Vinteum.io, you can see the same. So your site is secured with a HTTPS. And you can add that to your website if you have your own domain. So what's a domain? Vinteum.io here is a domain. So we've bought Vinteum.io, and you can buy it from Namecheap or GoDaddy. There are a whole host of other ones out there, but those are some of the most famous. You would buy your own domain. And then once you have your domain, you can add that security to it. But what I was saying was that if it's a subdomain, that doesn't work. So I'll show you a community website that I have. So this is a website that I created. So it's a fake community. I called it Sea Lights. It's very nice, fictional, but lovely. And you can see here that the connection is secured, but it could be more secure. If it was my own domain, I could buy or add an extra security to that. Because not necessarily when you have a subdomain, and this is a subdomain, when I'm underneath someone else's, so it has 2 dots here. So see like this dot, the other site, .com. That's how you know it's a subdomain. And they're not always secure. So you're not certain that your connection is secure. I've had clients in the past and it has said, you know, your connection is not secure. And that's obviously made residents very nervous when they join their website. So that's why I would recommend buying your own. So to ensure that my security was better for my website, if I had just sealights.com, I could ensure that that was more secure. Does that make sense? It's a little bit complicated to explain, but hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, Janice, please let me know. But okay. So where was I? Security. Okay, so we talked about this, encrypted database, privacy policy, and a secure login. All of these are very important, and they should be critical factors when you are deciding where to create your website and how to do so. And as well as security, there are some other things that you should think about when you are assessing that platform. So the board of directors or the committee, if you have a committee doing it on behalf of the board, needs to sit down and identify priorities. So what do you need? What is the most important? Well, my community communication is terrible, for instance. I never know what's going on. Or in my community, violation tracking or architectural requests are really, really important. Define those priorities. What is the most important to you? Because different providers will offer you different things. What do you really need? And then along with that is your budget. I wouldn't talk to any providers until you're clear of your budget, because there are lots of different providers out there, and the amount that you'd pay could be very different. So it's important to know your priorities and to know your budget. And with those in mind, start looking at different platforms. Do research, see what fits you best, what fits not only your budget, but also your priorities. Because you might find something that's really great and really cheap, but it doesn't work for your community. And vice versa, you might buy something super expensive thinking it'll fix everything. Not necessarily. Then once you've done that and people have brought suggestions to the table, do demos with 3 to 5 different companies, or do free trials to check what the software is like, what the platform is like, and see what best fits you for features, for price, for usability, and support. It's really important to also think about what support they offer. So if something goes wrong, will they help you? Will they answer? Will they just ignore you? That's a really big thing. If anything doesn't go so well, if you start to feel frustrated, that support makes a big difference. And then you can also use comparison sites. So if you think about something like Capterra or SourceForge, these are both websites that compare different softwares. So they will take different softwares in the area and let you know what has which features. It's very useful. And it also has reviews, which again, are great to know what other people think. Having said all of that about websites, let's look at some examples. So I have a couple of different examples here. Starting off with the Chase condominiums. So this website is one of our clients. They use our second template. So we have 6 different templates, and this is one of them. And having a website using a template is really great, as you don't need to know how to code. You just pick the one that's best for you and personalize it. And that's what C-Chase did. So great thing about this template is it has a very clear fixed menu. So it doesn't matter where I go, the menu follows me. And that helps people navigate your website much easily because they can click anywhere and still find that menu. C-Chase has also included important information here that their residents need to know. So they're in Florida, so they talk about the beach, they talk about conditions at the beach, they have a link so people can pay, they talk about rip currents, really important stuff. Then our next template here is our third template. This is our most popular template, I would say, as it allows you to add really large photos. When you first join, you get impacted with this really great picture. And Pat Lido has added a really beautiful one here. They have a large about us section, and again, some more beautiful images. They have a great news section, but what I really love is that they also have maintenance. So this is something that residents often want to know about, and they have really posted that to help their residents, including architectural requests and so on, which is so common. After them, we have the Golden Arms, who have chosen our most modern template. And this gives it a really unique feel. It feels very modern, which is really great. You also have this great picture, and they have included some rentals, which is very useful, especially for people who want to join the community. And then their menu is a little bit hidden here, and it pops up as a new page when you click on it. And then I also want to show you this bonus website, which is one that I really like, and I think it's a really interesting one because they wanted to monetize their website for something that was important to them. And they've done that by adding a local business here in business listing. So that was a really interesting thing to do. And I think it's so interesting to do that because you spend money on your website, obviously. And if you can use your website to make that back and to even make a small profit, it's incredible for the community as a whole. And you can do that by sharing a list of local businesses. So businesses could pay a small fee to be included. And that's really useful for your members as well. If you're new to the area, it's great to see what businesses that you have. And if your community has any amenities, such as tennis courts or a clubhouse, you could use your website to advertise that you're renting them out to non-members for a fee. And again, these amenities have a maintenance cost. So renting them out to people and actually charging could be really great so that you could promote them to the local community so that people know that they have this resource if they want it. And it helps your community at the same time. All right, I have rushed through this. I realized I was speaking very fast at the beginning. But before we go to the Q&A, so if you have any questions, please do post them in the chat. I would love to answer. This is your moment. I wanted to talk to you quickly about Neigbrs by Vinteum and what we offer. So we are the only communication-focused software for HOAs and condominiums on the market. So as well as offering you easy-to-use website templates like the one that I show you, We also offer a secure password protected portal where you can communicate with residents. We have an app, which is really great for that as well. You can send emails, texts, calls, chats. Residents can also submit maintenance requests and amenity reservations, both from the app and from the desktop. If you're a condo as well, you can track packages and guests that come in and out of your community. And it's really great to talk to snowbirds, anyone who doesn't live in the community, can split people up based on the kind of profile that they have. So it's a really versatile software. And our client Daniel here, he said it really well. He is a board member in a Florida condo, and he said that they had 3 different systems. It was really hard to manage their data, which created a lot of mistakes, and they really struggled with communication. And with Neigbrs, they have a support team there to help them with any questions that they might have. And they use notices and smart calls to talk to their residents. And having one single solution means that around 80% of their communication goes through one single portal rather than having to use different things. So it helped them to centralize their information, improve communication, and it saves them time. And time is everything. We don't want to waste a lot of time doing manual tasks for your HOA when you could just do it a lot faster. But okay, I have spoken a lot and very quickly. So let's go to the open Q&A session. If you have any questions, please do post them. I would be so happy to answer. Then while we wait for anyone to post any questions, I'll keep you entertained with a little flow chart that I did. All right, we have one question here. So we're a self-managed community and we have so much going on. Having a website would be great, but we're worried about adding more to our plate. Any idea how much time it would take to set up and maintain a website? This is such a great question. Thank you so much for this. It is really stressful for people to think about adding one more thing to their plate, definitely. What I think is that you need to think both short and long term. So in the short term, it might add a little bit more to your plate, especially when you're researching and then choosing a software. But you can spread this out over a few months. So have a meeting, talk about it, decide your priorities. Everyone goes away, brings one solution to the table, or one person sets up a demo that is recorded with different softwares, and then you bring it back the next month to your meeting, talk about it, maybe vote on it then, maybe at the next one even. You can take your time with that process. And then when you've chosen one, I'm going to talk about Neigbrs here. So that's the one that I know. What happens is that people vote, they let us know, and we send them an onboarding form. So you would input information that you have. So if you have your resident list, you can attach that, any documents, any pictures, and then we upload it for you. So we do that heavy lifting for you to take that stress off. So if you don't have resident information, because I know a lot of people don't have it up to date, what we can do is send links to residents so they can register themselves as well. But we take care of that part for you. Then we have a meeting, which is around an hour long at most, absolute most, to walk you through the platform and how it works. And then you guys can play around with it. I provide a checklist of things that you can do to get used to the system. And then you invite residents. So that part can be a little bit more difficult. But like I said, take your time with it. There's no huge rush to get something up and running. You take your time to get used to the system before you introduce residents to it. And then again, with residents, they often have questions, but our support team is here to help you with all of those questions to make it as easy as possible for you. And then it gets a lot easier. You have everything in one place. You do save time with the right software. I hope that answers your question. You asked about how much time it would take. I think the amount of hours, I can't tell you. It depends on how large your community is, how much information you have about your community, where it is, if you have to collect that all together. But I do truly believe having a website saves you time in the medium to long run, even if maybe for a month or two, it does add a little bit more strain. And even that strain, it's worth it. And you can take your time with it. All right. And then do you think senior residents would actually use a website and find it useful? I feel that they won't. This can be a bit of a struggle to get people who aren't so used to computers using the website. Like I said about design, if you make it as clear for them as possible, they will use it. I find especially the pandemic made such a difference with people using computers. I used to do meetings and people didn't know how to log into Zoom, and now everyone knows Zoom. Everyone got used to that. So we do find that senior residents will use the website, but it does have to be as simple as possible for them. So that's when our text and smart call features as well are really helpful, because that way, if they really, really, really do not want to log in at all, they will still get text with information about the community, about what's going on. Or you could send them smart calls, which is when they would pick up the phone and a robo voice would give them a message. That's really, really useful for senior residents, as well as if there's ever an emergency situation, you could just send a call out to everyone. So yes, people do use it, even older residents, but it does need to be as clearly laid out as possible for them. So don't hide information, have it very clear colors so that it's easy to read, and people will check it and they will use it. All right. Any other questions? All right. So I'm going to share my contact information with everyone here. So my image, don't do that. Okay, there we go. So to get in touch, you can send me an email. My email is layla@vinteum.io. And my phone number is 844-900-0910. And if you hit extension 3, you'll reach me. I'll post this in the chat as well. There we go. So I put it in the chat. You have our website here. So it's www.vinteum.io. So then we have a lot of information about websites, about the HOA condo industry, what's going on. We post things on our blog very regularly. We also create templates and ebooks, which are really helpful. So do go there and check that out. And then if you like YouTube and prefer to watch videos rather than read, you can look us up on YouTube. If you look up at Vinteum Software, you'll find us there as well. And again, we post videos on YouTube every week. So we answer a lot of questions there. And if there is a question that you have that I haven't answered, or a comment, please do let me know. You can always email me and I'd be really happy to talk to you. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if there are no other questions, I will let you all go. Thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate your time. Appreciate that you sat here and listened to me talk a lot about HOA websites. It's really great. Thank you for your questions and have a lovely afternoon. Bye.